Black Talent Talks with Anita and Grace. Welcome to Black Talent Talks, the show where we get people who are killing it in their work lives to share how they got there. We're going in with the highs, the lows, the shade and the tea. We're giving you the inspiration, the advice and some real talk on how to become the CEO of your career. Please remember to leave us a 5-star review, subscribe and share if you like what you hear and you know someone who needs to hear this. My name is Leah.
And I'm Denise Myers. And I'm so excited today. We've got two fabulous guests with us. They were both judges at the Black Talent Awards this year. So first of all, we have Grace Haynes.
Hey.
Grace is the head of people and culture at Coventry City Council. She's passionate about driving change with a career spanning more than 40 years, working within public and private sector organisations, both in the UK and overseas. She's currently working towards her PhD. Well done, Grace.
Thank you.
Researching the experience of employees from minority ethnic backgrounds and the barriers faced in their career progression to leadership. And then we have Anita Bhalla, OBE, no less. Anita's bio is much too long for one podcast episode, but she has served on the board of many organisations and is currently chair at, of course, B Music, GBSLEP, and chair designate at BCU. She has had an extensive broadcasting career, 26 years of which have been with the BBC. Her media career has been varied from being a correspondent, making radio and TV network documentaries, to developing the Asian Network. She has won several awards, including the CRE's Race in the Media Award, when she won the National Television News Award in 2000. In 2009, she was awarded an OBE for her services to broadcasting and communities. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
So, what I want to talk to you about, obviously you both were judges at the Black Talent Awards. So ladies, I want you to spill the tea about everything. I want to, something I've just found out today, these two ladies were already connected before, but what friends you made, what was the process like, and what was the final event like for both of you? Should we start with you, Anita?
The awards?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, first of all, we have to say, we only just met outside and didn't realise we were doing this together. And as you say, we've been friends and comrades in arms for a long, long time.
For a long, long time.
No, the judging was amazing. And I think I was just gobsmacked with the talent. And actually talent that often gets missed. So to me, the range of talent and the people out there, but also I think having on the night and seeing more and more people come up for their awards, but also those who didn't get awards, to talk to them, and now we can lay the path for that talent to grow. So to me, it was all about talent.
Brilliant. And you, Grace, how was
I'd
it for
agree
you?
with you, Anita. I thought the night was absolutely fantastic. And I think one of the things that I liked, Denise, about a clip that you put on LinkedIn was that we have no apology for celebrating black talent. I thought that was a really, really good strapline. You might want to use that. But I thought, having no apology for promoting black talent was great. It was, to see all that talent that Anita was said right before your eyes. It actually brought a tear to my eyes on a couple of occasions. I think just being there, I just think, the Black Talent Awards and yourself and your colleagues, Denise, had done a really, really good job. It was an opportunity to catch up again with people like Anita and people that you'd seen from a distance that you'd never really known. But first of many, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
And I think what we've got to grab is the opportunity to what next?
Yeah.
Yes.
What do we do with that amazing? And Grace, you're right. It was what tingled.
Yeah.
It made my body go all tingly in that room. But what do we do now? What do we do with that talent? How do we nurture, promote, and take that talent to the next level? I think that's a challenge for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that opening.
Okay, so we want to get to know you a little bit better and break the ice a little bit. So could you please share like a funny moment at work or a bad interview you've had or like a bad job you ever had? Grace, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, now I don't say I'm not being honest or I'm being economical with the truth. I have never had a bad job because I've decided very early on that I wasn't going to work in a bad job because that would just make me miserable and depressed. But I've had many a funny moment. So when I was asked to think about a funny moment, I didn't actually get to work with this funny moment, but it did happen. So I used to commute to London because I had a consultancy for a while and I was working at the London Borough of Camden Local Authority, which meant I'd get on a train at 6:30 in the morning. And in the winter, you know, it's dark. So I'd get up at 5 and get myself ready. And I've never been one in my bedroom to have really bright lights. I like them dimmed a little bit. I don't know if that makes me look better in the dimmed lights, but you know, but they always say you need a bright light for your makeup, but I didn't really take anybody's advice. So I got myself ready. And as you could see, I put my face on as I usually do. And I also use a lip pencil of a deep sort of burgundy for my lips. And I put that on and I placed it down. But the unfortunate thing is my eyeliner, which is in the same colour container, was sitting next to it. And so was my eyebrow pencil. So I picked up what I thought was my eyebrow pencil and went to put my eyebrows on. And because I was worried that I was a bit late, I didn't look in the mirror. I got in the car, parked at the station, got out, and I thought, why are people giving me a funny look? I'd only done my eyebrows in blooming raspberry. And then the worst thing is, when I thought, I've got to go to the toilet, because you think, what's going on? And when I saw it, I had two dark, raspberry eyebrows. And I had to get a tissue and try and get it off. I will never forget that day as long as I live. And the motto of the tale is, check before you leave the house.
Or put the light on.
Or put a better light on. So as you can see today, I hope I've got the right colour eyebrows on, but it did happen. And if you live alone, there was nobody to tell you.
Yeah.
I think something's gone wrong.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was only a scare for one person that morning. The bloke that saw me and kept giving me funny looks.
And Anita, do you have a funny story?
Oh, wow. I mean, when you've worked in telly, they always say don't work with children and animals.
Yeah.
And I've done both. So I've got endless funny stories. But I was filming in a school and it was something to do with National Book Day or whatever. So I was trying to do a piece to camera and a live for the lunchtime. So I had asked these children to line the books up behind me and to be quietly reading them while I did my live piece to camera. You can imagine what happened. There was chaos because there was a fight going on between two of them fighting for the same book. Oh no! And so you know, there've been other moments. I'll share one more. And ladies, if you're breastfeeding, hold tight. I was presenting a program for London Weekend Television, and interviewing one of the biggest stars, Anita Bhalla. I mean, if you know him, he's the biggest star from Bollywood. And I was interviewing him. I'd just come back from maternity leave. My baby was tiny. She was being looked after in the dressing room while I went out and did this interview with him. And you know what happens when you haven't got enough pads on? I leaked. And it was so embarrassing. And this was recorded as for live. So I had a chummy on, a scarf that I kept on. I realised this was happening, so I kept on pulling it like this. Oh, we survived the interview. And interestingly, somebody contacted me just about a year ago, and that video of that interview is still floating around, but I hope you can't see the patches.
Oh. Right, so there is some popular but controversial career advice out there. So this is the part of the show where we're going to bust some myths and ask you whether you think this is fact or fiction. So, in 2013, a survey of 2,000 working women found that a quarter of respondents believe they need to tone down their femininity at work in terms of their appearance if they want to be taken seriously at the office. But it's not just about appearance. Half said that they were afraid to show their true emotions. A fifth thought that they needed to be more ruthless to get respect. And a small number thought that they need to mirror male behaviour in order to get a promotion. It's now 10 years on, but we want to get your thoughts on whether you think anything has changed. So, do you agree or disagree with this week's controversial career advice? In order to get ahead professionally or in life generally, women need to think like a lady and act like a man. So,
I would put all that in the bin and say, think like you and
Yes.
be you. I mean,
Yes.
well,
Yeah.
I have to share an experience at the BBC, because when I joined the BBC, there were two people who were of colour in those days. It was me and a guy called Colin Prescott. Colin had dreadlocks and was looking after the African unit. I'd gone into Pebble Mill to sort out the Asian network. And I remember when I first, after moving on from the Asian network, and I went in as a television correspondent, it was male dominated, it was macho, there were no women in senior positions, and the women who were there were behaving like men, because we had to lose who we were. And after my first week in the job, I went to the editor, because I'd gone in to do community affairs. That meant covering our communities, Black communities, Asian communities. I went in as a bi-media correspondent and as a woman who looks like this. Within a week, I said, I'm leaving. I can't hack this, because men were throwing typewriters at each other. And the editor then, Roy Sachi, who happens to be Jewish, said to me, if you walk away, who's going to make that change? So I didn't walk away, thanks to Roy. But, we can't be something else. We are who we are.
Yeah, and I'd agree with you. I mean, I think that that's nonsense. I'm not going to get political, but we have had the Thatcher years, and a lot of people have said that, you have to emulate Margaret Thatcher if you want to get on. I don't agree with that. I think women can be assertive, and sometimes that assertion is misunderstood for aggression. But I actually think the women that I respect the most, and those who have, elevated themselves to senior positions, have not tried to take on any of the characteristics of men. They've been themselves. And I think that is a key thing for me, is to be yourself. I still think, though, that there is some of that macho stuff going on,
Definitely,
even though Anita and I don't agree with it.
Definitely there.
I would say some women leaders are still demonstrating those characters, which really are not very pleasant. I would say that even though we've said throw in the bin, I still think in some areas people are doing it. Now, I don't know if women are doing that because they feel that's the way in which they need to portray themselves. But I actually think the women that I respect are assertive, but they're clear about who they are as women, but also who they are as leaders, if that makes sense. So for me, I wouldn't agree with that myth. But I'd imagine in 2013 there was quite a lot of that being said.
And before that, when I had my children, I was working in the newsroom. I couldn't go there and talk about being a mum, which is so sad, because after work people went to the club, they went to the BBC club, had drinks, etc. I couldn't be who I am at that time, and I swore once I sort of became confident that I wasn't going to let that happen to me anymore, and I wasn't going to let any women I was working with have to go down that road.
But I think if you look at some of the theories that are coming out around leadership, and predominantly male leadership, I think you'll find that they're saying to men that you need to take on some of the other characteristics that women have. So I actually think there is there is an issue if women feel that that is the case. We have to be strong, we have to be assertive, but that we do that in our own right.
We have a bag, and we all have different things in our bag, and we all have different tools, we all have different personalities, we all have different laughter, cry, different things, and we mustn't lose sight of that, because that's what makes us authentic.
I also think that on this topic, part of me is thinking, if women took on the confidence that a man has, sometimes you know, we've all been there. We've worked for mediocre bosses and wondered how the hell did they get there. If we took on some of that confidence, so I would kind of switch that and say more like, act like a lady, think like a man, especially where the confidence.
You know, some of that confidence is more than confidence, it's aggression. And we cow to aggression sometimes because, you know, it's fine being confident. All of us, male, female, whoever you are, young, old, need that confidence. But there's a fine line between being yourself confident and self-aware and stepping in somebody else's
it's about
space.
belief as well. When I say confidence, I mean the belief in yourself that you can do it. It's like even applications.
Yes.
You know, a woman will see a job description and she'll say, there's 10 things on there, I can only do 8. I'm not going to apply. But a man will see 4 things and think, well, you know, I could do 4.
They'll see 10 and say, can do them all, son.
I can do 20.
Or 20 and they're not even 10 there. I think for me, you know, it's about flexing.
Yes.
That personality, depending on what the situation is.
Yeah.
So, but I still don't think it's the aggression that we need. I think it's the assertion. But I actually do think it's being able to be confident in who you are, and using that confidence to assert yourself. But I think as I've got older, I think that wiseness has come. You know, I've done some things when I was a lot younger and I thought, gosh, that wasn't right in the workplace. That's not the attitude and approach that you want. Yeah. But I think, you know, for me, as I've matured, I think I've settled in my own sort of character of who I want to be. Oh no, I'm still a force to be reckoned with. There's no question about that. But I like to do it a little bit with a smile on my face. And, you know, hopefully you only have to ask no more than twice. If you have to ask more than twice, then, you know, you might have to assert yourself a bit more. But I think that sort of quote is a little bit.
There are times, however confident I am, there are times when I wish I'd challenged.
Yes.
And I'll give you an example. We've always been trying to get more women, particularly women of colour, onto boards, and also women from our region. And I'm not going to name the organisation because it will be embarrassing for them because it's a national organisation. I applied for a board to sit on a national organisation. I was shortlisted and I went to this, you know, it was gruelling. They had all kinds of people there. And I arrived early in this office in London. I was sitting around the corner and waiting and just sitting there thinking. And one of the people, the chair of this big organisation, she walked in, she went to the secretary and said, oh, well, we better get this diversity thing out of the way. I was the diversity thing. And I wish, because it was a national organisation, and I wish I'd embarrassed them because they needed to be embarrassed.
Yeah.
And I didn't. And it was on one occasion, and I look back and thinking, why did I not do that? Why did I not? Because it would have made it better for others. So since then, when I became, took over, Andy Street asked me to chair the Leadership Commission, I vowed that we would never, ever, ever let people go for those positions go unprepared.
Yeah, and I think it's that preparedness that's really, really important. I think that, you know, I don't think I'd probably challenged as much as I should previously in my career. Because I think, you know, you want to get on, you want to do well, you want people to sometimes like you, and I do that, you can't see in quotes. You want people to like you, want to get on, and you're thinking about that next job. But I think one of the things that I have said is, as difficult as it is in navigating organisations and institutions, I'm not going to collude.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that's where I've come full circle, and maybe because, you know, I'm getting to the latter stages of my, I wouldn't say paid employment, but my full-time job and the job that I love, that I think that I'm not prepared to compromise on things that are important to me now, whereas I think I probably compromised before because it's something I wanted to do.
I think we did in our ILT days.
Of course we did.
Because, you know...
Do people know what ILT means?
So
this is how we met.
We were working in an organisation called the Industrial Languages Training Unit. So we had 6 units across the West Midlands. We worked in the factories and foundries, teaching workers communication skills, cross-cultural communication skills, but also teaching managers about how they communicated. And boy, did we faced racism and sexism in the factory workplace, but also amongst our own colleagues and how we design those courses to make them culturally less nuanced, more neutral. And we did have challenges in those days.
That's the in thing now, isn't it? Cultural intelligence about communications.
We were a bit ahead.
Yeah, you were way
ahead
ahead.
of the curve. We lasted
Way
for
ahead.
quite a while, but I think for me, I got into that work by default. You know, because you know, my parents came to this country from the Caribbean in 1956, and you know, all of my siblings and myself were born in the UK, and I think for them, you know, they wanted us to get a good education and all of those things. So, you know, I didn't get a chance to go to university early on. I went to secretarial college because at the time that was seen as something that I could really do well at. Not just any secretarial college, London Chamber of Commerce secretarial college with a private secretarial's diploma. So I actually got thrown into the work of ILT in that I was doing some clerical work, and then I got an opportunity to do some part-time teaching. But I think even within that organisation, there were lots of people who were committed to the cause. But in hindsight, and I look back on that commitment, I don't know whether I would say it's the sort of commitment that you would see today.
Yeah.
You know, it was probably about, right, the power base was still as it was, because that organisation was mixed in terms of ethnicities. It wasn't just an organisation made up of people from minority ethnic backgrounds. It was also an organisation where the leadership in many cases was
white male.
White male. So, you know, for me now, I look back on it, you know, there was a little bit, are we really doing this for the right reasons? I don't think I'd do the same work as I did then in the early 80s as I would now, but we've all come on a journey.
Yeah, definitely. Okay then, so we know that success isn't a straight line. There's lots of ups and downs and twists and turns, sideways moves. So let's find out what it took to overcome those barriers for you both, and the obstacles to reach your own goals. So I'm going to put the same question to both of you. And that question is, how has your definition of success evolved over time?
My definition of success keeps on evolving. Yesterday was Mother's Day, and I see them, for me, one of the most successful women was my mum. So she arrived here in this country, in Birmingham, actually, in 1963. She went on to have 6 kids here. She'd never worked all her life. My father, who thought he was going to get a nice job, ended up by working in a factory in Selly. And my mum was one of the first Asian women to work at Cadbury's on the factory floor. So she'd wake up in the morning at 5 o'clock, cook dinner, make sure we all had our clothes, and go off and go to work from 7 till 5. And she had one ambition, that all her kids were going to do well at school. If you didn't do anything else, you had to do that. And we would come home, and we were not allowed to watch. We only had a teeny little black and white telly. We were not allowed to watch television until we'd worked, and then we were limited. So for my mum, the success was, I want all my 6 children to do whatever we do. So I've always, and for her, success shifted as we all grew up and did different things. And she was, succeeding here as a mum or there as a factory worker. So for me, it's a question of not standing still. I mean, you do not stand still, because you can't just say, I have done it and I'm moving on. Success doesn't work like that. It's a bit like jelly. It just moves with you and you mold it to the next bit and the next bit.
I think that's absolutely right, Anita. A lot of people that I know think success is about the hierarchy, getting to be a CEO, getting to be in charge. I'm not interested. Not interested at all. Never been interested in being a CEO of anywhere. You know, for me, in my current role that I'm in at the moment, head of service, I have a chief people officer who I get on very well with, Sue Newing, but I've never wanted her job. Because sometimes the higher up you are, you can't always do the things that you want to do on the ground, because they're usually doing a lot of the firefighting above you. And, particularly in my profession of HR now, it used to be in teaching, but in HR now, they're doing all the firefighting and dealing with all those things where I'm just below and I'm able to move the dial.
Yeah.
and make a difference. And for me, it's all about making a difference. And if I can make that difference at the level I am at, then I'm a very happy person. I sleep well at night. I don't worry about, I've got, that next job or that next job. For me, I learned very, very on, and I think it's through my own experience, lived experience, that I knew that my role in all of this was about supporting those who may want my support, not me throwing my support on them, but using, I think, my experience, my working life. So I've worked ever since I was 19. I've never stopped working in a number of different sectors. But, I had a couple of things happen to me in my career when people, I'd worked hard, got qualifications, and then people said, I had an opportunity to go for a job, and then somebody turned around and said, well, no, Grace can't do it because she knows her place is here, doing secretarial work. Yeah. So that's when I got the opportunity to join ILT, the Industrial Language Training Service. And it was somebody called Ram Chandola. And I lived in Coventry, and I had to get to Walsall, and I had no car, but I knew I was going to get to Walsall for that job. So for me, it's like jelly, I think, like Anita said. It's not, it's something that moves. I do not believe success is that you've reached the as high as you can get. I think success is where you think your success is. Yeah. And whatever level you think your success is what I believe is success. Nobody dictates to me whether I'm successful. I think I'm very successful, and I'm happy with what I'm doing. More so now, I think. Happier now as I've got older, because I actually do think I can give something back and make a difference, because I've learned quite a lot on my own journey.
Yeah, and I think just helping or supporting people to open those. I'll give you an example again. When I was charged with setting up the Asian network, I was working in ILT, but I left to come on a 6-month break. I thought I was taking a careers break, because the BBC wanted the Asian network set up. So I left and joined the BBC, thinking I'm only going to do this for 6 months. In 6 months, the BBC wanted to grow the Asian network, keep it, but they were not prepared to put a lot of resource in. So I literally picked people off the streets, young people, trained them to become presenters. We worked so many hours, long hours, to make it happen. And everyone found their success, if you like, because from there they could build on and on. These were just young people, literally, that I'd taken off the street, thinking I'm only going to do this for 6 months. I stayed for 26 years at the BBC, but there's another story.
Yeah. Success is about purpose as well, isn't it? Your purpose, your why. Why have you chosen the career path you've done, and the purpose in it? Who can you help along the way?
I know why I've chosen the career, and I know the absolute day that it happened. So I used to work in further education in a very good college in the West Midlands, and I remember started off in secretarial, then got the opportunity to go and work for the Industrial Language Unit, and then got a job in a further education college in the West Midlands. And I remember the catalyst for me getting into HR. I didn't even know what it was. I was teaching, and I remember once that I was doing something around stereotyping. And we had it. I always used to like teaching the students that nobody else would want. Always the ones that somebody had probably thought, well, they're not going to get anywhere. Well, I thought, I'll have those ones. So I thought, I will have the students that nobody wants. And we're doing something around stereotyping. And I remember Ofsted were in, and they observed my class, and they went to the chief exec and the principal at the time and said, a wonderful class and so on. But I also remember getting an opportunity to observe somebody else's class, and unfortunately it was the same old notes that they'd dragged out of their bag 15 years previously, and they were teaching the same old thing. And I said, I cannot make a difference teaching. That was at the time, so we're talking 1989, 90. I can't make the difference that I want to make if I continue to do this job. I want to be in a job that I can appoint better teachers, so we can stop giving young people like him who can't teach very well. I'll never forget that day, and that's when I went to my chief exec and had a conversation, and it was that chief exec who turned round and said to me, have you thought about doing HR? And I said, what's that? But I remember making that decision. I need to be able to appoint them.
Yeah.
What jobs can you get that you can appoint them?
Yeah.
To try and make a difference that way. And that's what I think that's what I did, went and trained while I was at work. Can I name names?
What's your name, Leah?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So my chief exec at the time was Rosemary Gray, who was chief exec of the college at the time. And she said, yep, Grace, I think you should. And really the rest, I've found my niche.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not interested in doing grievances or disciplinaries, but I do like the organisational culture pieces and making a difference to organisations that way.
Amazing.
You know, if I'd listened to my careers advice at school just down the road, I wouldn't be sitting here. My
me
careers
neither.
officer thought I should become a traffic warden.
Oh, that's a first.
That's a first. Really?
Yes, and I think it was maybe, I'm being generous here, that at that time they were looking for more people of colour to join uniforms, and they thought she'd make a good traffic warden. I would love to go back and ask that career teacher why they thought I ought to be a traffic warden. I went on to train as a teacher.
Mine was a receptionist in a factory.
Mine was typing.
Yeah.
Private secretarial typing, I'm at.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, before you go, we want to leave our listeners with some super practical advice. So, do you have a favourite saying or quote that keeps you motivated? Grace, I want to start with you.
I do, and I have thought about this, and my quote is from Maya Angelou. Okay. So I wrote it down because I always get the words mixed up, but my quote is, success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it. And that sums up everything for me.
Yeah.
Because I like myself right now. I feel quite at peace with myself. I like what I'm doing. I love working for Coventry City Council. I never wake up and say I don't want to go to work. And I also like the way in which I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So that puts me in a really good place personally, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely something to think about.
Mine's by Maya Angelou as well. That's my favourite quote.
Is it?
I'll tell you after me.
I haven't got a direct quote, but going back, Mahatma Gandhi once said something along the lines of, open your windows and let everybody's culture and thoughts flow through your windows, because if you close your windows, you close yourself down. Whereas if you keep your windows open, you're opening yourself to all kinds of ideas and thoughts. And I think, you know, that's what I want in life, which is keep my mind open. I want to be influenced by people. I want people. I want to see people and get, wow, I hadn't thought about that. So for me, it's Mahatma Gandhi. You know, let all the cultures flow through your doors and windows.
Yeah, I like that one. It's kind of like look out for inspiration and stay inspired. Yeah, that's lovely.
Mine's by Maya Angelou as well, and it's and still I rise. I just love that. Yeah. So no matter what happens, I'm like, still I'm going to rise above this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good. Amazing. Well, this is the wrap up. So I'll just summarise what you've just said, because we want to make sure that our listeners get these pieces of information and quotes. So we've got Grace, Maya Angelou again. Success is liking what you do and how you do it, and Grace is liking what she's doing at the moment and how she's doing it. She's proud of that. And Anita is love yourself, make good things happen is a t-shirt that she wears. And Mahatma Gandhi had a quote, and it's something around the lines of open your windows and let everyone's cultures and thoughts, ideas flow in. Have I got that right?
That's good.
Yeah.
Good summary.
Okay. So thank you so much, ladies.
Yeah, and where can people find you on social media, if that's your thing? Or
So I'm on LinkedIn. I tweet, and I just started Instagram, but I need somebody to teach me how to do it better.
I'm on LinkedIn. Do I tweet? No. Am I on Instagram? But I'm definitely going to have to get better at the whole social media trick, because as I opened my phone this morning, I'm on there and I didn't put myself on there. So I'm going to have to do a little bit more in the social media field.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been
Thank you.
really
Lovely.
great. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks.